Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, our Heavenly Father, Bahasham, meaning in the name of Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And I want to give all honor, or it's like a double honors, to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us His truth to rule well. This is the brother Izar here in Cedar Park, Texas, Leander. Um, I just wanted to go, touch up on the Sabbath, because it's something that's important, something that we have to keep, something that was given, all right, from the beginning, um, but most importantly, given to the Israelites to keep, you know. So actually, before I even start bringing these out, all right, the Sabbath is going to be this Saturday, the 20, what is it, the 22nd? So like, I'll get into it in a minute. Let me actually bring this out over here in what is called the Apocrypha. Let's type in Sabbath. Let's go down. As you can see, the Sabbath, there's a lot of scriptures that bring out, the Sabbath. So, people say that they don't know when the Sabbath is, so they can't keep the Sabbath, so they just choose, one day, where they rest, and that's what they're going to call the Sabbath. And, that's what it is. That's how it is, which is not true. Because the Most High told us, all right, He gave us the moon, the stars, the sun, for signs, for signs and wonders. So the reason behind the Sabbath being on a new moon is because Scripture clarify that, you know. So I'm going to end it with one of the scriptures that I have in mind, but I'm going to bring out these different ones. Let me see. It was in the book of Maccabees. All right, and then Second Maccabees 6:6. This one goes into, all right, whenever we couldn't keep the Sabbath, you know. That time we weren't allowed to keep the Sabbath, you know. We knew when the Sabbath was, and now we know when the Sabbath is, but back then we weren't allowed to keep the Sabbath. Nowadays we can't keep the Sabbath simply um, because of Esau Edom, you know, because of the things that he implements. We have jobs and things of that nature, you know. But if I'm forced to go to a job because I have to pay my bills, then I'm not going to buy and sell that day, you know. I'm not going to go to those vending machines and buy, you know. Sometimes, a brother has no choice, man, you know. Sometimes you have to travel and you have no choice but to, buy something to eat, you know. Some brothers, don't even cook that day at all, you know. Some of us have to, we have kids and we have to cook that day, but it's all about the Most High knows the inward parts of men, you see. So knowing the Sabbath and keeping the Sabbath, that's something that's important. All right, Yahweh Shai knew the Sabbath. He kept the Sabbath. You know, we should keep the Sabbath as well. So give me one second. Salak, which that word Salak or Salakia means. Salak means sorry, or Salakia means to forgive you. You know, so Salakia, forgive me. For having to stop the lesson. But Second Maccabees chapter 6 verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. All right, and like the book of Ecclesiastes says, that which was is to be. All right, meaning What happened in the past happens again in the future, man. You know? So nothing's new under the sun. Everything has been done over and over and over, you know? So us not being able to keep the Sabbath, us not being able to profess ourselves to be Jews, all right, which the Israelites are Jews, you know, because we fall under Judah, um, we can't do that anymore either, you know, because they try and come up against us, all right, call us to be liars. But like it says in Deuteronomy 33 and verse, what is it, verse 20, I think it's verse 28, where it says, and your enemies shall be found liars, and Yahweh shall say, destroy them. All right, that's going to happen, man. You know, our enemies that said that we were liars, they're going to be found liars. And like, I believe it's the book of Romans where it says, and where it was said, ye are not the children of the Most High, there will it be said that ye are the children of the living God. All right. So in those times, it's a lot. In those times, um, you know, which is in the future, everybody's going to be found liars that came up against this truth. You know. So back then, in the time of the Maccabees, which was before the Messiah, all right, uh, 400 BC to about, I believe it was 124 BC. Um, you know, the time of the Maccabees, the Maccabean revolt against the Greek. All right, the Israelites were forced to convert and become Greeks. You know, they were forced to become part of their culture, part of their religion, to call themselves Greek. They were forced to do all that stuff, man. You know, so it wasn't lawful to keep the Sabbath. You know, and you had people that would keep the Sabbath secretly, and they would be put to death. You see, let me see. This is Second Maccabees 6:11. It says, and others they had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered by Philip, were all were all burnt together because they were made conscious to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. You see? So these heathens, they don't want us to come back to our power, man. They don't want us to come back to our ancient feasts, all right, which is not just tradition by men, all right, but it's also a heritage, man. You know, we shouldn't keep these things by tradition of men, all right, but we keep these things by heritage, all right, because it belongs to the Israelites. You see, so those feast days, those special days, the Sabbath days, is not Saturday, all right. It's not Saturday specifically. It's not Sunday specifically. You know, it's not Friday specifically. It's not a specific day, all right, but it's according to the moon. You know, that's why there's a new Sabbath. You know, and then Sabbath after that you have, so Sabbath days after that you have a Sabbath. 7 days after that you have a Sabbath, and then 7 days after that you have a Sabbath, and then you have a new Sabbath. All right, and then 7 days after that, and 7 days after that, 7 days after that, and then you have a new Sabbath. All right, because a month is 4 weeks. All right, a month is 4 weeks, and that word month goes back to the word moon. You know, in Spanish, you have the first day of the week, and it's called lunes. All right, which means, you know, the lunes goes back to luna. All right, so the first day of the moon. You see, so it says let me see, there was another one. There was one that explained. God, this is First Maccabees chapter 10 verse 34. Furthermore, I will that all the feasts and Sabbath and new moons and solemn days and the 3 days before the feast and the 3 days after the feast shall be all in immunity and freedom for all the Jews in my realm. All right, so the Jews, the Israelites, would keep the new moons, and you have the the Native Americans here in the United States of America. All right, they would keep the new moons, and they would have a sacred day called oh man, I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was basically a Sabbath. All right, and they would do it according to the new moons. All right, which further proves that the Native Americans were Israelites. You see, so the Jews are the ones that would keep those feasts. All right, it wasn't the Edomites, it wasn't the Hamites. All right, it wasn't the Ammonites, the Moabites. You see, the Elamites. It was the Israelites. That's who it was given to. And that's it. That's all I wanted to get there. So in the blue letter, you have actually Exodus 16, Exodus 20, and Exodus 31. All right, they all talk about the Sabbath, and they basically say about the same thing. All right, so I'm going to read Exodus 31 and 14. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore. All right, and this is Moses speaking unto the children of Israel. All right, ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Every one that defileth it shall surely be put to death. All right, so back then we were put to death if we didn't keep a Sabbath. All right, it says, for whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. All right, but like Judges 5 says, all right, there in the land of drawing water, we shall rehearse the righteous acts. Why is that? Because in the kingdom of heaven, we're gonna keep the righteous acts. All right, we're gonna know the righteous acts. You see, that's what's gonna happen in the kingdom of heaven. You know, so it says that soul shall be cut off from among his people, and we were cut off, man. All Israel was cut off from Israel. All right, we were all cut off, man. That's why we all went after our own minds, after our own feelings. Whatever we wanted to do, whatever we took pleasure in, that's what we would do. All right, because we were all cut off from the people that we were, and now we're coming back to this. All right, and it started in 1969, 1970. All right, when the prophets started coming out. All right, and that was the beginning of the downfall of Esau, Edom. You see, and now we're in 2020. All right, now we're in 2020, and we see all these prophecies unfolding. You know, viruses coming out, Russia hating Esau, Edom more and more. You know, all these other nations coming up against America. So it says, Exodus 31 and 15, 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy unto Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. And our people were dead. We were in a dead state. That's why Ezekiel 37 says, prophesy unto these bones. All right, because we were in a dead state. We didn't have the name of the Most High. We didn't know our feasts. We didn't know who we were. All right, we were all estranged from each other. We all hated each other. All right, those are curses that fell upon our people, man. And you have people like Vocab Malone, uh, 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 James, Dr. James. All right, all these other people that call themselves doctors and have bachelors and think that they have some type of knowledge of the scriptures, which they don't. All right, those are the people that are trying to come up against us, along with 2/3 of Israel. All right, people that are not going to get this knowledge, and the rest of the heathen. They're coming up against us because in ancient days, all right, whenever Israel was coming back to their power, which is the Most High, all right, they would start an upbringing, all right, of literal power. You know, Israel would start to be established as a power, and they knew that they wouldn't be ever, and the heathen knew that the Israelites would not be overthrown if uh, that was the case. You know, because whenever the Most High is fighting for Israel, no one overthrows Israel. But whenever the Most High turns away from Israel for the wickedness that we do, all right, That's when all these other nations have their way with us, you know. So it says, verse 16, wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath. You see, so this is commanded for the children of Israel, and this is before the book of Maccabees. You know, this is in the beginning when we came out of Egypt. We were all there. You know, so in the book of Maccabees, predominantly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi were there. All right, you had some people from the tribes, the northern kingdom, that were still over there, but the majority came to the Americas. So when it says, you know, the Jews can keep their Sabbaths and their new moons and their holy feasts, all right, it's talking about the Israelites, all right, because that's who it was given to. Like it says here in Exodus 31 and 16, wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbaths to observe the Sabbath, therefore throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. Now let's go to it and see what that word perpetual. Mm, I walam. I walam. Let's go up here. It's this one. I walam. So it's the same word because sometimes they put the root word. I walam means long duration, antiquity, futurity, forever, ever, everlasting, evermore, perpetual, old, ancient world. All right, so the Sabbath day is not done away with. That's one of the laws. That's one of the commandments. All right, that's one of the things that we're supposed to keep forever, always. All right, always. Let's look up always, at all times, on all occasions, as a least, as a last resort, failing all else. All right, so we always are supposed to keep it, man. You know, always. Like I said, nowadays, sometimes we can't even keep the Passover to the completeness, all right, because we're forced to go back to work because we have to make money to buy the food, all right, to pay our bills, all right, to keep our children safe, to keep ourselves fed, you know. But in the kingdom of heaven, the Sabbath day is going to be completely a day of rest, you know, and the earth eventually it's going to have his Sabbath days too, or her Sabbath days, you know, because the earth is supposed to have her Sabbaths, which is every 7 years, I believe. You have one whole year where you don't mess with the earth, you know. So it says of future as well. All right. So these things are in our past. All right. They were more clarified to Israel, you know, and now they're being brought back, all right, by the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the elders and apostles. So let's put Sabbath again. Let's go to Leviticus. What was it? I believe it was 26 or no, it was 26. You know what? It was Isaiah 66. Let me go to Isaiah 66 and what was it? 20, 26, 23. Isaiah 66 and 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh. All right. So in the kingdom of heaven, everybody's going to be keeping the Sabbath. You know, every single body here on earth. You know, so it's from the Israelites and down to the slaves. You know, and the rest of the nations. They're all going to keep the Sabbath. All flesh shall keep the Sabbath and the new moons. All right. Now, why did he mention new moons and Sabbaths? Because the new moon is a new Sabbath. 7 days after that is a Sabbath. 7 days after that is a Sabbath. 7 days after that is a Sabbath. And then 8 days after that is a new Sabbath. All right. It says, to worship before me, saith Yahweh, and they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men, and have transgressed against me, and their worms shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. All right, and that's what's going to happen on this side. You know, when that judgment comes, everybody's going to be afraid of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You know, so when the kingdom of heaven comes, which is going to be here on earth, that's going to be established here on earth, all flesh is going to bow down to Yahweh, because they're going to know he is the only true power. You see, there's not going to be any more little idols and things like that, but we are going to teach the heathen to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. You know, so let me get I think it was eighth day. I think it was eighth day Sabbath. Maybe just eighth day. Mm, thought it was eighth day. Let's see. It was in the book of Leviticus. Let's see. Bear with me. 6 days. The seventh month, first day of the month. Okay, here. This is Leviticus 23 and 24. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the seventh month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath. Now, why is that? All right. Why is that? A memorial of blowing of trumpets and holy convocation. So this is the feast of trumpets. All right. But it clarifies to you here. It says, in the seventh month, in the first day of the month. What is the first day of the month? The new moon. All right. The new moon indicates the new month. All right. So in the new month, the first day of the month, all right. So lunes, which would be in Spanish, which means the first day of the week, all right. But really, lunes represents the first day of the month. Means, shall ye have a Sabbath? All right. So how many Sabbath do you have in a month? You see? So it's a total of four Sabbaths, which is a completion of the 7 days. All right, 7 days, and then you have a new Sabbath. You see? But this one right here specifically is for the day of the trumpets. All right, the blowing of trumpets and holy convocation. You know, which is an ancient feast of the Israelites. Again, but the reason why I'm bringing that out is the seventh month, and the first day of the month shall be a Sabbath, because the Sabbath were according to the new moons. The new month, every new month that was brought in was a Sabbath. All right, and you keep a Sabbath 4 times, 4 weeks. So the new moon, and then 3 weeks of 7 Sabbaths, or 7 day Sabbaths, and then it's a new moon, and then 3 weeks of 7 day Sabbaths, and then it's a new moon. All right, so on and so forth. So it was never one specific day. All right, but it was according to the moon. You know. So the Sabbath last week was from Friday evening to Saturday evening. You know, and that was actually one day, like it says in Genesis. And the evening and the morning were the first day. All right, so that evening, it starts at evening. The next day starts at evening. You know, so from Friday evening to Saturday evening, that was one day. And now this new Sabbath, which is this weekend, is Saturday evening to Sunday evening. And the reason why we put Saturday or Sunday or Friday is just an indicator of when it's going to fall. All right, because you don't have people outside looking at the moon all the time, seeing when the new Sabbath is coming. We have apps and we have things of that nature as well, you know. But we put Saturday evening to Sunday evening, you know. So let me get that video. Salak. All right, that's the new Sabbath. You know, the new moon is going to be on February 22, 2020, from Saturday evening to Sunday evening. You know, so that's going to be the new moon. The new moon before that, all right, 4 weeks ago was Friday evening to Saturday evening. That was the new moon, which was the new Sabbath. You know, there was another one. Let me see if I can get it. I think it was 31. Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever through your generations. All right, Leviticus 23 and 31. It says, your generations in all your dwellings, in all your dwellings. All right, so that's America, that's New Mexico, that's anywhere we've ever been. All right, we have to keep the new moons. You see, it says, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at evening, from evening unto evening shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto Yahweh. You know, so there's certain things that you have to know, history that you have to know about the Israelites, you know, and about our ancient customs. So this is Amos chapter 8, and I'm going to end it with this one. Amos chapter 8, and what was it, verse? Let's see. Okay, let me go up. Songs of the temple shall be howling. It's Amos 8. Let's start for verse 5. Amos 8 and 5, saying, when will the new moon be gone? All right. When will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn? All right. And the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great, falsifying the balances by deceit. See? So let's go according to the moon. New moon. You see? Saturday evening to Sunday evening. And that's the new moon right there. You know, the 22nd to the 23rd. You know, that's the new moon. And then 7 days after that, 7 days after that, 7 days after that, making it four weeks, which is a whole month. All right. 4 Sabbaths is a month. You see? So that's what that Sabbath day is talking about, man. You know, so for the ones that hear, we have no excuse to ignore the Sabbath willfully and to go and do our own pleasure. You know, that Sabbath day is mainly for reading, all right, mainly to study, you know. And again, some of us don't have the opportunity at all times, you know, on a Sabbath to be doing these things, you know. But as long as, you know, you're keeping the Sabbath, You see? So that Sabbath is according to the new moon. So here at Great Millstone, that's one of the things that Great Millstone teaches, to keep the Sabbath according to the new moon. In these other places they call the new moon the full moon, which is not. It's a full moon, which the Sabbath actually falls on a full moon also, but it's according to the new moon. Because like you see here, all right, uh, you have Saturday the 9th, you have the full moon, all right, and then I can't see the next one, all right, but it's eventually going to fall in order, and it's going to fall on a full moon, a half moon, you know. So the moons fall in order, man. So according to the new moon, all right, that's a Sabbath, and according to scriptures, that's a Sabbath. You see? So you're supposed to keep the Sabbath. Let me get this one in Acts, because if that was the case, then the apostles, all right, and the followers of Yahweh Shai, they wouldn't have kept the Sabbath. You know, this is Acts 17:2, and it says, "And Paul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days uh, resoned with them out of the scriptures." Why? Because every Sabbath they would teach. They would go out and teach every Sabbath. You know, every Sabbath day they would go out and teach. In the synagogues. So they would ask them if they can come back the next Sabbath to teach them out of the scriptures. And that's what we do at Great Millstone, man. We teach, our people out of the scriptures. We don't just pull things, out of the air, like you have some people calling, on on certain names, and they call that the name of the Most High, but they don't go into the scriptures to prove it. You know, it says open and alleging that Mashiach, all right, the Messiah, must need have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that this Yahushai, whom I preach unto you, is Mashiach. And that's what we go out teaching, man. We go out teaching that Yahushai HaMashiach is the Messiah, the Son of the Most High Yahweh, all right? And we, as Israelites and children of the faith, all right, we ought to keep the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability, all right, and follow in faith and in charity um, this this uh, uh, this truth, you know. So I hope that was edifying, and with that, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, and double honors to our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone for teaching us His truth to rule well. Shalom, and stay strong out there. Shalom.